Earth had changed. After the Great Unification, humans had started trading with alien species. It wasn't war that brought the galaxy together, it was business. Now, intergalactic markets were filled with things no one thought possible. Food. From red stars, clothes that changed color with mood, and even companions. The companion program was legal. Some said it was wrong. Others said it gave lonely people a second chance. Jake Monroe didn't care what anyone thought. He had seen too much war in his early years, real human wars on Earth. Now he only wanted peace. He had credits. He had a small home on the edge of Lunar City. And he had one request. A companion who didn't talk too much. So when the door buzzed, and the delivery drone dropped off a small transport pod, Jake didn't expect to feel anything at all. It was just another purchase. Inside the pod stood a young alien woman. She was tall, with deep violet skin and silver eyes that seemed to glow. Her ears were long, and her hair floated like strands in zero gravity. She looked at him, and smiled, not forced, not programmed. Real. Jake frowned. You okay? She nodded quickly. Yes, very okay. I'm glad to be chosen. Her voice was soft, unsure, but excited. Like she had been waiting for this moment her whole life. Jake looked over the paperwork again. Her name was Rila, species unknown. Origin redacted. That was strange. Most companions came from well-known planets, usually trained and conditioned. But her file was almost empty. No previous owner, no behavior logs. Just one note, special request, high obedience, no aggression. Jake didn't like surprises. You know what this is? He asked. I didn't buy you for anything. Weird, I just needed company. Yes, she said quickly. I know, I am happy really. She said it like she meant it. That night, she made tea from glowing blue leaves she carried in her bag. The aroma was calming. Jake sat on his worn-out couch, sipping slowly, watching her move around the room like it was already her home. Where are you from? He asked. She paused. Her hands trembled just for a second. Far, a place that doesn't exist anymore. Jake raised an eyebrow. Destroyed? She nodded. Yes, by war. He didn't push further. He knew the look of someone who had seen too much. He had seen it in the mirror. The next few days were simple, quiet. Rilla was gentle, helpful, and never once disrespected. His space. She didn't ask too many questions. She seemed grateful for even the smallest things: warm water, soft food, a quiet room. Almost like these things were rare in her life. But strange things started happening. One night, Jake caught her standing outside under the stars, whispering in a language he didn't understand. A light passed over her skin like a scanner. When he asked what she was doing, she just smiled and said, saying thank you to the sky. Another time, she panicked when a drone flew too low near their window. She dropped the cup in her hand, her body shaking, eyes wide like she expected to be attacked. Jake didn't like it. One morning, he woke up early and found her in the kitchen, drawing a strange symbol on the wall with her finger. It glowed red, then faded. When she saw him, she froze. For the first time, she looked afraid of him. What was that? She hesitated. It's protection. From what? She looked at him with a sadness so deep it made his stomach twist. From them. They will come. They always do. Who? Before she could answer, a loud boom shook the apartment. The lights flickered. Sirens screamed through Lunar City. Outside the window, Jake saw fire. And ships. Alien ships. Hundreds. A red sky was forming. War had come again. But not for Earth. Jake turned to Rila. She was already looking at him, no longer smiling. Her voice came out calm, too calm. They found me. Asterisk. The sky outside was filled with burning light. Alien ships moved like shadows across the moon's surface, silent and fast. But inside the small apartment, It was even quieter. Jake stared at Rilla, his heart pounding. They found you. Who are they? Rilla didn't move. Her hands were tight at her sides. Her glow, which always looked soft and warm before, was now sharp. Like a warning light. They are my people, she said finally. But not friends. Not anymore. Jake grabbed a small pulse pistol from his drawer. Are they here for you? Yes, she whispered. And they won't stop until I'm taken or dead. He had too many questions. But there wasn't time. A sudden flash lit up the window. A ship hovered low, its lights scanning the building. Jake ducked and pulled Rilla with him behind the kitchen counter. What do they want from you? He asked, keeping his voice low. I ran away, she said. From a war one was forced to fight. From a life I didn't choose. They call it honor, I call it slavery. Jake had heard about warrior species before. Ruthless alien empires who trained even their children to kill. Some called them savages. Some called them gods, but Rilla, she didn't seem like either. You were a soldier? He asked. She nodded slowly. I was their weapon, their secret, but I escaped. I changed my body, erased my records. That's why I joined the companion program, to hide. To feel human. Jake shook his head. You could have told me. I thought I had more time. Suddenly, the building shook again. This time the floor cracked. Dust fell from the ceiling. The sound of metal tearing through concrete echoed from the hallway. They were inside now. Jake stood and checked his pistol. He had barely 5 shots. Maybe 6. Nothing strong enough for a full squad of alien hunters. You should go, she said, eyes calm. They don't want you. No, Jake said firmly. I bought you, remember? That makes you my problem now. She blinked in shock, but a small smile touched her lips again. You're strange. I get that a lot. They moved fast. Down the hallway, past broken lights and flickering signs. Jake led the way, but Rilla knew the corners better. She moved like a shadow, like someone trained in secret paths. He started to realize she wasn't just hiding, she was trained to disappear. But not today. As they reached the emergency lift, the wall behind them exploded. A large figure stepped out of the smoke-black armor, glowing red eyes and long blade arms. It looked like something from a nightmare. Jake fired. One shot hit the creature's shoulder. It didn't even slow down. Rilla stepped forward. Her body shifted. Lines on her skin glowed bright blue. Her arms moved fast, too fast for Jake's eyes. In one clean move, she leapt, flipped over the enemy, and drove her glowing hand straight into the creature's chest. Silence. Then the hunter dropped. Jake just stared. That wasn't training. That was something else. I was their best, she said quietly. The emergency lift opened. They stepped in. As the doors closed, Jake's mind raced. Why now? Why attack Earth? They don't care about Earth, they care about secrets, and I have one. Something hidden in my blood. A weapon they want back. Jake looked at her. Then we can't run forever. Rilla met his eyes. No, we fight. Together. And somewhere deep under Lunar City. The real war was just beginning. The emergency lift groaned as it dropped deeper under Lunar City. Jake had never gone this far down. These levels were meant for old storage, forgotten tunnels, and things people didn't want to talk about. Rilla stood silent beside him, arms folded, her skin dim now but pulsing faintly with light. She was no longer hiding. She was preparing. Jake couldn't stop watching her. So what's really in your blood? Rilla looked at him. A seed. Jake blinked. What? A living weapon, she said. Not a machine. Not a bomb. It's something my people created long ago. It grows only inside chosen warriors. I didn't know I had it. Until I started changing. Jake felt a cold sweat on his back. And now they want it back? They'll take me apart to get it. The lift stopped with a hard jolt. The doors opened to darkness. Old lights buzzed weakly overhead, revealing a long corridor with rusted metal walls. Jake stepped out first, gun ready. Rila followed, eyes glowing softly in the dark. "What is this place?" he asked. "Old tech labs, shut down years ago. Some say they were used for alien testing. Maybe that's why I remember this place." They moved quickly. Each step echoed like a whisper through the hall. Strange markings covered the wall's symbols Jake couldn't read, but Rila sometimes touched them with quiet respect. Suddenly, a noise echoed ahead, metal scratching. Heavy footsteps. Jake raised his pistol, aiming at the shadows. Then a voice called out, rough and human, "Don't shoot." From the dark came a man in a dirty jacket, holding up his hands. He looked like a scavenger thin, with tired eyes and a scar across his neck. Jake lowered his pistol slowly. "Who are you?" "Name's Drav. I live down here, hide from patrols, hunt old tech." He glanced at Rila and frowned. "You brought one of them down here?" "She's not what you think," Jake said quickly. "No," Drav muttered. "She's worse." Rila stepped forward. "I'm not here to hurt you," Drav scoffed. "You're glowing. That usually means bad things. I've seen your kind. When they light up, people die." Jake didn't have time for a fight. "We just need to hide, or fight. I don't know yet." Drav hesitated, then nodded. "I know a place. Come on." They followed him through narrow side tunnels, past doors sealed with rust and time. Finally, they reached a chamber filled with old machines, broken drones, smashed androids, and dusty screens. "This is my den," Drav said. "Signal proof. I've got old weapons too, if you know how to fix them." Jake turned to Rila. "What now?" She looked around the room. Her fingers brushed against an old alien console. With a spark of light, the screen came alive. Strange symbols glowed across it. "I can use this," she said. "I can call for help." "Help from who?" Jake asked. She turned, eyes serious. "From those like me, the ones who escaped." Jake's heart skipped. "There are more of you. Scattered, hiding, waiting. If I can reach them, we might stand a chance." Before he could answer, an alarm screamed from somewhere above. Then static on the comms, followed by a voice in a deep alien language. Drav's face turned pale. "They found us. They're tracking energy signals." Rila's hand pulsed with bright light. "Then it's time." She stepped into the center of the room. Her body began to change, lines of light flowing through her like rivers. Her hair rose, her eyes burned white. Jake stared, stunned. "Rila, what are you doing?" She closed her eyes. "Calling the others." A pulse of energy blasted from her chest. It passed through walls, metal, and stone, reaching places Jake couldn't even imagine. Far across the stars, something ancient was waking up. The real war had just heard her voice. The energy pulse faded, leaving behind silence and dim light. Rila stood still, her chest rising and falling as if she had just run for miles. Her glow was fading, and her body looked weaker. Jake rushed to her side. "Are you okay?" She nodded slowly. "The signal went out. They heard me. Now we wait." Drav didn't look so hopeful. "You just told every enemy where we are." "Great job." But before Jake could reply, Rila raised her hand. "No, it wasn't just a signal. It was a key." She pointed at one of the old machines in the corner. It began to hum, lights flickering to life. Symbols moved across the screen. Then, with a loud hiss, a hidden door behind the wall slowly opened. Jake stared. "What is this?" "A safe room," Rila said. "A place built long ago by another escapee like me." They entered cautiously. The room inside was clean, untouched by time. Strange crystals glowed from the walls. In the center stood a small orb floating, spinning slowly. It pulsed with the same color as Rila's skin. She walked to it carefully and placed her hand on it. In an instant, her eyes widened. "I remember now," she whispered. "This is where I was created." Jake stepped back. "Created? I wasn't born," she said, voice calm. "I was built. Designed by the high scientists of my people to carry something ancient. A living weapon. Something too dangerous for war, but too powerful to destroy." She turned to face him. "But something went wrong. I became me." Jake looked confused. "You mean you were supposed to be just a weapon?" She nodded. "But I developed feelings, thoughts, choice that scared them. So they tried to erase me, but I ran." Drav was pacing behind them, clearly nervous. "Listen, this is all very touching, but we've got company coming." Outside the hidden room, the walls started to shake again. Distant footsteps echoed in the tunnels. The enemy had arrived. Rila reached into the orb. It responded, wrapping her hand in glowing threads. A voice spoke in her language, and her body started to shift again, stronger, brighter, more controlled. Jake stepped forward. "What's happening now?" She turned slowly. "I'm unlocking the second stage," Jake frowned. "You said this was a weapon inside you. Are you activating it?" Rila looked at him. Her face was calm but full of emotion. "No, I'm choosing to protect." Then the wall behind them exploded. Two tall hunters stepped in, weapons drawn. Red eyes locked onto Rila. Drav fired first. His shot hit one of them, but it did nothing. The hunter moved fast, throwing him across the room. Jake raised his pistol, but before he could fire, Rila moved like light itself. She jumped into the air, spinning, glowing brighter than ever. Her hands became blades of energy. With a cry that shook the room, she sliced through one hunter in a clean strike. The second lunged forward, but Jake threw a broken pipe at its head, just long enough to distract it. Rila finished it with a single blow. Silence returned. Drav groaned on the ground. "Remind me not to make her angry." Jake helped him up. "You okay? Not dead. That's a win." Rila stood in the center again, glowing softly. "More will come, but I'm not alone anymore." Jake looked at her. "You called others like you. Will they come?" She nodded. "Yes, and if they don't, then I'll still fight. Because for the first time, I feel free." And deep in space, far beyond Earth, a dozen hidden ships began to move. Warriors who had once run from war now turned back toward it, because their lost sister had called, and they were coming. Lunar City was under lockdown. The upper levels had gone dark, and communication was almost fully cut. Military drones circled above, but even they didn't know who the real enemy was. Underground, inside the secret room lit by glowing crystals, Rila sat cross-legged, eyes closed. The orb still floated above her palm, feeding energy into her body, stabilizing her. She was healing, but also changing. Jake watched in silence. He had seen many strange things in his life, but nothing like this. He thought she was just a runaway, a scared girl looking for peace. Now he knew she was more than that. She was a living miracle wrapped in danger. Drav sat beside a broken console, working quickly with old wires. "I've managed to open a short-range channel. Not enough to call Earth Command, but maybe enough to warn others nearby." Jake nodded. "Good. If Rila's people are coming, we need to prepare." Rila opened her eyes. They glowed white for a moment, then returned to their soft silver. "They are close. I can feel them now. One of the ships will land soon, just outside Lunar Base 3. Drav cursed. "That's across the surface. You're talking about a frozen, wide-open area. Full exposure, no cover." Rila stood slowly. "I'll go." Jake stepped forward. "Not alone." She looked at him, her voice quiet. "If I go alone, I may survive. If you come, you might die." He didn't flinch. "Then we'll take the risk together," Drav grunted. Guess I'm coming too. I hate dying alone. The three moved quickly, using the underground tunnels to reach an old exit port near the city edge. Rila carried nothing. She needed no armor, no weapon. She was the weapon. Jake had only his pistol. Drav carried an old plasma launcher with one working shot. As they stepped onto the frozen moon surface, cold wind howled around them. The stars above were clear, bright, and full of motion. A distant shape came closer. It wasn't one of the enemy. It was sharp, elegant, quiet, like a bird, a ship. Not human-made. It landed slowly on the far edge of the base ruins. They're here, Rila whispered. Then without warning, 3 more ships came from the opposite side. Dark, heavy, loud. The hunters. Jake cursed. They followed us. Drav raised his launcher. This is gonna get ugly fast. But Rila stepped forward, alone. She lifted her hands to the sky, her body glowing bright again. A signal. A call. The friendly ship opened. From the light came 5 figures tall, glowing like Rila, each one unique. A group of outcasts, rebels, or maybe even forgotten gods. They didn't speak. They stood behind Rila, forming a line. Jake felt the ground shake as the enemy hunters approached. At least 10 of them, strong, ready, no mercy in their red eyes. Then the battle began. One of Rila's allies moved like a wave of light, slamming 2 hunters into the ground with raw energy. Another created a shield wall that blocked laser fire. Rila herself jumped high, cutting through the air like fire through paper. She landed behind the enemy line, blasting 2 more with a pulse from her hands. Jake and Drav fired from behind. Broken stone, covering their allies as best as they could. For the first time, Jake saw a real fight, not between good and evil, but between freedom and control. The ground was littered with sparks and smoke. The enemy began to fall back. One tried to escape. Rila caught it. She raised her glowing hand and said in her own tongue, "Tell your masters, we are not weapons anymore. We are voices, and we are done running." The hunter dropped to its knees. The message was clear. The war was no longer just about Ryla. It was about all of them. And this time, the galaxy would listen. Asterisk smoke still hung in the cold air. The battlefield on Lunar Base 3 was quiet now. The enemy ships had retreated, leaving behind broken metal and silence. The frozen ground was marked with burns and glowing streaks where energy had torn through the soil. Jake stood beside Rila, his face pale but steady. Drav was sitting against a piece of shattered wall, wrapping a bird on his arm. The alien warriors, who had come to help, now stood in a circle, speaking in low tones in their own language. Rila turned to Jake. "This is not the end." Jake nodded. "I figured. They'll send more. They won't stop," she said, "until the seed inside me is taken or destroyed." Jake looked at her carefully. "Can't we remove it?" She shook her head. "It's not just inside me. It's part of me now. If it's taken out, I die." Drav looked up from his corner. "So we either protect you forever, or watch you get killed." One of Rila's people stepped forward. He was tall, with blue markings across his chest and long glowing hands. He spoke in clear English. "There is one way." Rila turned toward him. "You mean the core?" The warrior nodded. "Yes, if we reach the galactic core, we can awaken the seal." Jake was confused. "What seal?" The warrior answered, "Long ago, before her kind was made, there was a weapon so dangerous it nearly wiped out 3 galaxies. It was sealed at the galactic core, a place full of ancient energy. If we take Rila there, she can transfer the seed into the seal. It will be trapped forever." Drav muttered, "Let me guess. No one's ever done that before." "No," the warrior said, "because no one ever survived carrying the seed this long." Rila's eyes were calm. "Then we go." Jake raised an eyebrow. "Just like that? You're ready?" She looked at him. I'm tired of hiding. I want peace, not just for me, but for everyone they hurt. Drav stood, groaning. Well, I didn't sign up for this, but I'm not staying behind either. Jake gave a half smile. Galactic core it is. But things moved quickly after that. The rebel ship was ready to leave. Rila and the others boarded with Jake and Drav. Lunar Command tried to stop them at first, but once they saw the battle records, they backed off. Even the military didn't want to get in the middle of this war as the ship rose from the moon's surface. Jake watched the stars grow larger in the window. He turned to Rila. You were truly happy when I first met you. Even when you were hiding. She nodded. Because I had freedom, even for a short time, and because someone treated me like a person, not a weapon. Jake looked down. I didn't know what you really were. You saw enough, she said softly. As they passed Mars, the ship suddenly shook. An alarm screamed. Rila's warrior friend ran to the front controls. They're here, a flagship. They followed us. A massive black ship appeared ahead, dark as space itself. Its cannons were already glowing. They will destroy this ship, Rila said. They know where we're going. Jake stood, eyes hard. Then let's not let them win, Rila nodded. We'll need to fight one last time before the core. Her hand touched the wall, and a panel opened to reveal hidden weapons. Strange, beautiful tools of light and energy. She handed one to Jake. No more hiding. He took it without hesitation. No more. And as their ship turned toward the final battle, the stars themselves seemed to shift, because this time, humanity wasn't just watching. It was standing beside something truly powerful, and maybe something truly good. The black flagship was massive, 10 times larger than their small rebel ship. It hovered in space like a shadow made real, blocking the path to the galactic core. The enemy knew where Rila was going, and they were ready to stop her at any cost. Inside the rebel ship, red lights flashed. Shields were holding, but not for long. Every blast from the flagship shook the walls. Sparks flew from the control panel. Jake stood beside Rila, gripping the glowing weapon she had given him. His hands were shaking, but his voice stayed strong. We're not turning back. No, Rila said. We go through. Drav appeared from below deck, dragging a heavy plasma cannon over his shoulder. I found the big gun. Let's make it count. Rila's fellow warriors moved quickly, each taking a battle station. The ship turned toward the core, a glowing region of space just ahead, filled with golden clouds and pulsing light. It was beautiful and deadly. The seal is inside that storm, Rila said. If I reach it, I can lock the seed forever, Jake frowned. And what happens to you? I don't know, she whispered. He turned to face her. You said you wanted peace. Maybe you don't have to die to get it. Rila looked at him, and for the first time, her voice trembled. If I survive, I'll come back. He nodded. Then I'll wait. The enemy flagship launched a final wave of drones, black machines flying fast, armed with energy blades. They rushed toward the rebel ship like a swarm of death. Rila stepped forward. Her body lit up with a deep golden light, now different from before. Calmer, stronger. Her feet lifted from the ground. Her voice echoed without sound. I am not your weapon anymore. She blasted forward, out of the ship, straight into space. No suit, no armor. Just energy. She flew through the enemy swarm, moving faster than their weapons could track. Each drone she touched exploded in a burst of light. The flagship fired everything it had, but it couldn't stop her. Jake watched from the front window, heart racing. She's doing it. Rila reached the seal. The galactic core opened like a giant flower of stars. In the center was a sphere of pure white light, pulsing like a heart. She hovered before it. Then slowly, she reached into her chest, her hand glowing brighter and brighter. She pulled the seed out not as a weapon, but as pure light. The enemy. Flagship fired one last time. Too late. Rila placed the seed into the seal. A wave of energy blasted across the stars. The flagship cracked, then shattered, disappearing into dust. The drones stopped in mid-flight and dropped like stones. Inside the rebel ship, everything went silent. Jake stared. Is she? But before he could finish, a golden light flashed. In front of the window, Rila stood there floating in space, wrapped in light, her eyes wide with wonder. She was alive. The ship opened the hatch. Jake ran to her, pulling her inside. Her glow faded as she stepped onto the deck, breathing heavily, but smiling. "You're back," he whispered. "I promised," she said. Drov laughed in the background. "Well, I didn't die. That's a first." The rebel warriors bowed their heads. Their mission was complete. Jake held Rila's hand, feeling the warmth in her fingers. "So, what now?" She looked at him with soft eyes. "Now I get to live, really live." And somewhere in the stars, the galaxy finally turned quiet, not because the weapon was sealed, but because a girl who was built for war chose peace with a human beside her.